All right, welcome back to the channel, everybody. It's Mo Money with G once again with your Raptor rundown. Hey, G, not too bad. We're 3 for 3 so far this year.
Hey,
Uh,
we're more consistent than some parties.
oh, it's starting early. It's starting early. The Raptors got off to a rip roar and start outscoring the 76ers by 9 points, 36-27 in the first quarter. What were your feelings after that first quarter, knowing the Raptors came out with such intensity?
Intensity, yes, but also they had whatever luck working on their side. That, from what I saw in that little bit, they were able to hit shots, and they hit a bunch of them in a row. And right then I knew, well, this game is probably either going to go that way, and they're just in that cruise control of like just hitting their groove. But I knew it wouldn't last. It wouldn't last longer than a quarter or whatever. But I guess it lasted two, and then they just kicked back into like 0 for 16 turnover city, which is kind of their thing now. Like I feel like it's just the same loop has gotten stuck. You know, when the VCR or the record just gets stuck on that same thing. It's like we
They
keep
can't
thinking,
stop the bleeding.
yeah, yeah, we keep thinking it's going to kick into the next track, and it's like, no, we're stuck on the same dang track.
Uh, the Sixers had their way with the Raptors. Let's not have the score fool you. It was 114-107. But Joel Embiid and the 76ers were, well, they weren't in control the whole way, but they started the second half on a 21-5 run. Took control of the game and never looked back.
So, do you think that's legs? I mean, we could try to make excuses for the Raptors here, but I feel like at this point in the season, you should be fresh as heck. No excuses, no matter what the back to back situation is, no matter what.
And the Raptors are a young team.
Yeah, yeah. Do you think foul trouble played a huge issue? Because it's Embiid, and if you can't touch Embiid because your guys have gotten into foul trouble just by, the little ticky tacks that they start calling sometimes, he can end up dominating the game because he becomes that ultimate playmaker because you can't truly defend him in a rough and tumble sort of way. So I know Pirtle was in foul trouble. Did Precious get in foul trouble?
I think so. But what it comes down to though is, yeah, you'd have an argument, except Tyrese Maxey put in 34 as well.
That's it. And you could coach these guys to be a little bit more sensitive to the fact that they call it because he's the MVP. So don't swipe unless it's a clean swipe. Try to get
It's
off
gonna
in
be the
off other ways.
Joel Embiid being the MVP is gonna be the most annoying phrase I hear all season on the Raptor Rundown and the At the Buzzer podcast. And if you enjoy basketball content, we got you covered all season long. Like and subscribe, all that good jazz. But yeah, Joel Embiid getting calls because he's the I can't even say self-proclaimed because he is the MVP. Unfortunately, I don't think he is. He whines about everything. He doesn't play basketball to its fullest extent. But
He's a
when
he's a
you're
fair
play,
weather
but
guy.
but when you're playing a team like the Raptors, who as soon as you know you've got their number, they're gonna crumble. It's easy to be Joel Embiid and look like that All Star.
I would make the same comparison about Luka Doncic, and I was impressed as heck last night. 49 points, that shot at the end, the hook shot three in front of your home crowd. It's magical, but it's also what you said at the beginning of the season. This is what they're aiming for. They're not aiming to win longevity wise into the season. Da da da. They want to put on a heck of a show and ride high when it's there, and then just kind of turn into a little ball when it's not. And when I saw Luca just crushing it last night, it even fooled me until I remembered. Oh yeah, come game 77, if anything is going wrong, he kind of just tunes and pulls out and becomes a diva again. And that's Embiid, is it not?
It is, and you know, to draw the comparison between Embiid and Luca, I don't know. I can see where you can think that's fair, but Luca kind of has to bend to the will of Mark Cuban, I guess,
Or is it
because he didn't.
go either way, couldn't it? Couldn't it?
It could,
Because they're
but
both.
the problem is the Raptors are so young. They have a new bench boss. They they don't have, like you said when we do a pre-ramble for those of you who don't know. But during a pre-ramble you said the Raptors don't have that dude.
Yeah.
You want to let you want in case you're new to basketball, I'm going to toss it to G and he can explain to you what that dude means.
Mm,
Because we might have somebody new stumbling onto the podcast and just checking it out for the first time. So, do
okay.
you want to explain what that dude means in terms of the NBA?
I think that's a great way to bring up somebody from this week, right? And maybe we could actually do a segment in our regular podcast, just whenever we're on, of that dude of the week. Who's that dude?
That's it.
Um,
I have a couple nominees. The first one you're not gonna like, but
so for that dude, right? It's the guy that can just win you games in the end. It's Dame time, right? It's the guy that is somehow so consistently the buzzer beater winner, the guy that is calm under the most intense of pressures. And he's not sometimes that dude, he's that dude, right? So it's a big kind of elevation to put somebody up there. And oftentimes Luca is that dude and can't argue that. But Raptors do not have one of those dudes.
it's tough not to have one of those dudes. That's right,
How do
and
you
that's
win
the
those
problem. That's the problem that the Raptors are facing is they don't have that dude, and you know, old heads will, old heads like us will say, well, the '04 Pistons didn't have that dude. They were just a team. But no, they did have that dude. They
Big
did. His
Ben?
name was Chauncey Billups.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Chauncey was that dude for that Pistons team,
There's a reason he was the Dame's first choice for head coach.
you know. And Chauncey
Birds
is
flock
one of
together.
don't don't let the Portland Trailblazers season fool you. Chauncey's one of the smartest dudes in the NBA, bar none.
Oh, yeah.
But can do the Raptors, since this is the Raptor rundown, do the Raptors have enough assets to go and get that dude?
I can see that there's potential, but every team protects that dude with quite a bit. And it almost requires a star wanting out or for them to be coming up on a contract year and they're on a team where they're already strapped for can we pay them, can we pay them, maybe you can poach them. But the Raptors are in the situation of they've invested in Scotty Barnes like we were talking about last night. They think he's that dude, and then I'm okay with that if we actually were to fully invest in that. But essentially they said he's that dude and we're invested all in that, but we're going to keep all the other guys who are being paid essentially
Like
that
you're
leverage
that dude.
going to that dude and building around him. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. And I'm gonna ask you, as the bigger Raptor fan of the two of us, is this too much? Too much too soon for Scotty Barnes?
I watched the press conference last night after the hysterical, wild, unfortunately unforgettable loss. But Scotty came out and he was like in tears. First it was the coach, good accountability, front line, own it. He looked ashamed, appropriately ashamed. And then Scotty came out and he was just like, not like tuned out, but just like visibly hurt and emotionally like crushed. And so I think that's okay. And it's a sign that he is going to be growing because he cares and he cares enough. But I think you're right that it is maybe a little too early for the expectations that are being thrown around. It's kind
of
of like,
him to be that dude.
and it's because we have all these old dudes still on our team that essentially would be perfect complement pieces to a team that had that dude in his prime. But if you're hoping for Scotty to be that dude in 3 years, you can't afford to keep Pascal, OG, and Trent for that long. So what's the core then, right? It's just this jumble that doesn't seem to have a plan.
That's the thing that makes me angry, and I went through this with you last night a little bit after the podcast or after the rundown. I keep calling it podcast. I guess it's one and the same. But I have a plan for this Raptor organization. I have a plan for every organization in the league. And that's a scary thought that I can sit down and look at some team objectively and make moves. But the Raptors need to pick a lane. They either need to go out and get a Tyrese Maxey from Philly, or they need to pull the trigger and send Pascal somewhere to get the assets so they can get their own Tyrese Maxey in the draft somewhere and start this rebuild correctly. Which by the way, I wanted them to do last year.
Yeah. I almost feel like they're in a situation now similar to the Clippers where it's like you doubled down that one extra time that you shouldn't have. Like you probably should have aborted probably a year or two ago of the Kawhi PG project and because they're going to be horrible for the next 20 years or something because of this whole stretch, unless, of course, they win the championship, redeems everything. But I think the Raptors doubled down on their not picking a lane, and now they're going to double down on it again because there isn't really a move you can make that is that great. It's just like you're either way you're sort of surrendering to an option you don't want, so they keep going down the middle. And to me, that's doubling down on the thing that's really not working.
But if you keep doubling down on the middle, you're never going up or down.
Exactly, man. I think that's the whole thing. They're maybe content to be down the middle, like Dallas, like some of these teams that can make money elsewhere and have their MLSEs making some big money in their first, second rounds.
Is that it? Is this a business play?
My instincts tell me it's a personality stubbornness thing, and maybe Masai, maybe a combination of people, but I feel like somebody was stubborn and they're still around and they're still the thing in the way.
Because Scotty had a 20-point night tonight, for what it's
Scotty,
worth.
for the bet, for all the Raptors fans out there that are feeling maybe like me a little dejected and kind of like ready to throw the season away and just be a passive observer, I think Scotty is that very strong potential of that dude material. And to watch him grow this season could be a heck of a lot of fun if they kind of give him that front seat driver thing, like be the Paulo, what's his name in
But see,
Orlando?
I said this yesterday. I'll say it again today. This is the best thing that can happen for Raptors fans. Just go and tank, tank, tank. And don't tell me that other teams aren't talking about tanking. That's garbage. The league can't find me because I'm not associated with the league.
Yeah.
So you can't say the word tank and put it where the sun don't shine, really, because the Raptors, the Raptors are like the Canucks. They're not good enough to win. They're not bad enough to draft high enough to get good enough to win.
And it takes courage, I think, as a GM or owner to pick a lane because either way, you could be hated, right? You could be the Brooklyn GM that makes the bad slip on the wrong superstar, and now they could be effed. Maybe not, but they could be based on that one bad move. Minnesota, they made a choice with that Gobert thing.
But I respect them for picking a lane.
Yes, yes, but I understand why the stakes or why the decision is so hard to make because the stakes are so high. Like Minnesota might be screwed as a franchise for the next 10 years because of that trade. You sent away four
Yes,
first round picks.
yes. But and this is my GM galaxy brain. The Raptors will be screwed for the next 20 years if they keep doing what they're doing.
And that was kind of my point last night. It's like, if you don't pick a lane, like if KD was on the table and you didn't trade Scotty and that was the deal breaker, like then you've really messed up. Because you don't get an option for a guy like that very often. And now, if you screw up Scotty by not investing in him because you're going to drag Pascal and OG all the way along this ride of trying to build Scotty, I think you're going to ruin the opportunity to build Scotty into that dude guy because Pascal will take the last shot. You know,
Here's my thing. Do you think the Raptors suffer from being the only team in Canada because MLSE knows that we're going to support them anyway because we've already lost the Grizzlies? Do you think the Raptors suffer from a little bit of that where the people are going to come anyway because if they don't, we're just going to move the team?
hey, I remember actually talking to a Vancouver Canucks manager not GM, but somebody in their front office 10, 15 years ago, and they're just come out of the cup run or maybe just going into it. And I asked this guy, like, are you ever concerned about attendance and stuff like that, depending on how the team does? And he like laughed and laughed. He's like, bro, this thing sells out no matter what. And that gave me some good insight to how certain franchises send the message down from the top. Like if it's just understood that your team is always going to sell out a stadium, or at least the owners think that's the case, then yeah, they're probably going to treat the team that way. And the Aquilinis very clearly know their home base, which is very wealthy, always going to come and buy a ticket. Raptors similar. There's not a whole lot else basketball urban wise in that level of sport. There's no NFL team. MLB's on the way out always. So Toronto Raptors riding the Vancouver Canuck train, being complacent makes a little sense.
I just asked that because for years the Raptors have been a second round team at best. At best, we've been a second round team. And that's on a good year.
Honestly,
So
is
I
there anything that you're excited about that beyond Scotty on the Raptors right now? I know. I'm kind of there too. And I'm like, dang, that's pretty harsh but that's how much I love the franchise and not loving where we are.
see, I would have said if he was a bit younger, I would have said Gary Trent Jr., but he's a free agent at the end of the year. And let's face it, as much as I like Gary Trent Jr., he's probably not coming back.
And still he's not that dude, right? Like he's a very good little streaky
He's
off
a
him, but he's great.
he's a piece.
He is, but he's not that dude. He doesn't need
He's
to be that dude, but he just isn't that dude So do you
He's
invest big
not the
dollars?
driving force.
Yeah. Would you sign him? You said maybe if he was younger.
Maybe if he was younger, or maybe if I go to Gary and say, "Hey, Gary, look, we're trying to do something here." There. But see, here's the thing. I would do this 2 weeks before the trade deadline because I don't like to wait till the deadline. I'd say, Gary, look, I know we paid you a lot the last time when you came. Do you want to take a pay cut to stay? And I'm asking you 2 weeks before the deadline because if you tell me no, I'm shopping you,
He's definitely
and
going
I'm
to say.
shopping you tomorrow.
He's definitely not going to say yes.
So if you're not willing to take a pay cut and you're not gonna stay, you're not helping the organization. So I'm gonna deal you for draft picks and or a prospect and get something for you because
Sounds good.
Freddie just walked out the door for nothing.
Yeah.
Kyle Lowry walked out the door for nothing.
I would let Pascal and OG walk and keep Trent to build as the core because he is younger than those other dudes. And those other dudes don't let Scotty become the full man he needs to be because it's like your parents are always around. OG and Pascal are seasoned vets.
But he's gonna have the same problem if you keep Dennis Schroeder too.
I mean, you can have one or two, I think, and then have that guy as your mentor. But when it's half the starting lineup or half your team, like, Thad Young, Otto Porter, uh, OG Pascal, like these are some older dudes, and Schroeder, that if you picked one, keep one, maybe
Well
two.
then, well then I'm keeping Dennis Schroeder because of
Dang.
those options, he's the point guard.
Mm-hmm.
He spreads the floor,
And he's a
and
great.
as much as I don't like Dennis's inconsistency, because you've heard me complain about that before, he's the better option of the other three dudes.
He's the best leader of that whole combination. Like OG doesn't talk to anybody apparently. Like he's just the nicest, quietest guy in the world. Pascal's kind of in his own world a little bit, nicest guy in the world, but not exactly a leader of men troop style. Schroeder is. He's world class. He's the biggest name in basketball for an entire country. He knows what that pressure is like. I would keep Schroeder too. I'd build him, Trent, and Scotty as the new core, and Grady, I
I'm
guess.
not, I'm not as high on Dennis as you are, but we agree on something.
Yeah.
And for those of you who've been watching us for quite a while, know we don't agree on a lot here on this podcast.
You don't make fire with just two sticks sitting next to each other.
That's very true. So I guess with where the Raptors sit, which is now 1-2, one game under 500, they don't play until Monday. Monday night is Portland and Scoot Henderson. Now I don't guarantee wins very often, and it's kind of silly to say this, but Monday night is a must-win night for the Raptors.
It's one of the few that I think we could almost guarantee because it is a must win, and you're going up against a team that's literally one of the few that's trying to lose this year on purpose. Like I've already clearly stated that they're in rebuild tank mode. So if you lose this, then maybe you're sending the message to the world that you're on the exact same level as Portland and you're in rebuild mode. You just haven't dealt your assets yet.
That's what I mean, and
Because you have to try.
this has been my stance from the beginning. We've been in rebuild mode for at least 2.5 seasons, and the Raptors have done nothing to
Mhm.
improve the squad.
That's it.
See, here's the thing: if Bobby Webster 2.5 years ago said, "Hey guys, we're in for 3 years of pain. We're gonna deal our guys, Kyle Lowry, Freddie Van Fleet, and those guys, we're gonna be in for some pain, but we're asking you to stick with us because we have a plan. We're gonna get some good draft picks. We're gonna develop some players. We're gonna use these picks to probably make a trade or two to get
Mhm.
some new bodies in here, but it's gonna be like 2 or 3 years of pain. I can accept that. But now that you haven't done anything for 3 years, now you're looking at an extra 5 years of pain.
Mm.
And
And we're
that's
moving
not
into a new
acceptable.
era where people now, there's a new LeBron, there's a new squad that's coming up, and it ain't you, you know?
No, it's not as much as I wish it was.
And like when you look at Houston, who has a brighter 5 year future right now? Raptors or Houston?
Houston does
By how much?
by about 20%.
Yeah, that's a lot. Like if you're Raptors front office and you look at it through that lens, you should be looking for another job. You know, like Houston shouldn't be in a better place than us right now, but they're probably at least 20% for 5 years, and then maybe 40% better off for the next 10.
Let me ask you this, because they're the laughing stock of the league. They're perennially bad. Are the Raptors still ahead of the Orlando Magic
In what way? Of like just rankings, like at the end of the year, or just
in terms
overall?
of by the same parameters of 5 years from now? Who's in a better spot, the Raptors or the Magic?
Oh, Magic, without a doubt.
That's bad.
And just think, we could have done the same. They got Bankero, decided, you know what, it's going to be hell for a couple of years because it's a bunch of young dudes. But if we actually trust them and put around some like safety nets and maturity things, Paolo could be that dude. And so they did that, and they found Wagner along the way, and they found this other dude along the way, right? And they got boatloads of picks and cap space. So if they wanted to complement you're that dude with another secondary dude, you've now got him grown into the franchise. Plus, you add that piece.
Raptors fans are gonna be so mad at us with the way these episodes have been rolling out.
Let me ask you this: is there any Raptor fans out there that are feeling differently?
I think there are Raptor fans out there that are just resigned to the fact that they're never going to be any good.
Yeah, and that's what I don't like. I think you should demand more of your franchise. Like this is our escape. This is our fun from the chaos of the world. You want your entertainment folks to care about it as much of a product as anything, and to be just okay with whatever is like, it's pretty lame to cut off the fun of something that can be so exciting.
So, and here's the Raptors' biggest problem because we talked about it the other day. Is Masai's on the board? Masai's not going anywhere.
Yeah, yeah, for better or worse, which we'll never know, but he's there. And maybe Bobby Webster isn't come next year. Yeah,
I don't know. This seems to be the only league that people can fail forward for some reason.
truly. Only if you come from the Raptors. uh, which, yeah, is still bizarre that the two coaches of the league teams in the Eastern Conference both left a trash Raptors team last year. Like,
And
some,
that's the one thing. Is there if it's a management problem, it's worse. Because if it's a player development issue, you can fix that.
and
If it's a management
Rico
if it's a
Hines
management huh?
last year, they brought in Rico Hines, right? Like the best player development elite guy you could to work with Siakam, worked with him all summer, and then they hired him. Looks like Pascal forgot everything he learned. And so did they as a team, organization. Let's not all put it all on Pascal for sure.
But I remember saying last night, like even before the game was on tonight, I said the Raptors will lose by 12. And in that fourth quarter, they were down by 12 for the majority of it. And the only reason it was 7 is because Philly let up defensively in that fourth quarter. Let's be honest here. That's what happened. Philly let up, so the game looks closer than it should have been.
Yeah. When I watched that last 4 minutes, I didn't see any bright spots other than Scotty working his tail off.
See, it can't just be the one guy.
Exactly. You can't have one guy that cares that you're putting all your eggs into, but you're not paying them yet, and you're sending all the value earned to the other pieces that seem to have checked out on us.
See, and that's the problem is nobody else is pulling the wagon, so to speak.
Man, I don't know what the way out is here for the Raptors. Do you have any final suggestions for what the Raptors could do other than just blowing it up? Like if you were getting the call tonight saying, listen, we got to really strategize on how to make our next move here. We've got a 5-year plan. It's around Scotty. What are we
Okay,
doing?
those are my parameters. It's around Scotty, right?
Yeah.
Okay,
And our
those are
fans
my
are
parameters.
pretty upset right now.
Those are my parameters, though. I got Scotty and everybody else is fair game.
Yeah.
Okay, here's the first thing I do.
And it
If I'm
starts.
Bobby Webster, if I'm Bobby Webster, and those are my parameters, and I want to keep Scotty Barnes, the first thing I do is I go talk to Scotty. Hey, Scotty, guess what? What's that, boss? You're the guy for the next 5 years. What that means is I'm coming to you to talk to you. Who do you want us? Who needs to stay and who honestly needs to go?
Mm,
You're on the bench every day. You're in practice every day. We believe you're the future of this franchise. We believe you're the cornerstone. We're gonna trust you to tell us who you think deserves to be who deserves to be your teammate, Scotty, is what I'd ask him.
that's a great question. And it echoes what Bob Myers said his management style was. So you're echoing, the best in terms of rings in the last 10 years. He said he goes to staff when it's critical decision time. He doesn't bother him much. But when it's for those big, high level decisions, he goes to Steph and G1. And Steph often he says, just replies, I trust you guys. Whoever will win, da da da. But if he needs an opinion on it, yeah, they just go to him because it's as Steph goes, so does the franchise. So of course you ask him, right? But
That's what I'm saying. If you're telling me that Scotty's my guy and I gotta protect Scotty, Scotty, which of these 12 bums deserves to be your teammate next year?
yeah, yeah. And who do you want? Maybe is the other question, I guess. I have like the league. What types of
And
players?
that's the other question. Who do you feel that who do you feel that is a pending free agent that's possible for us to get complements your game the best?
Hmm,
We want to give you every chance to succeed.
man, Trey Young,
Okay?
Pascal, and OG for Trey Young. You wouldn't have to send both, obviously, but
No.
let's say
But
Pascal
I'm
for.
just but I'm just saying, if I have to fix this team, I'm going to the guy I'm keeping and I'm gonna say who's your teammates?
Okay, that's
Who do
actually
you
a really good answer. I like that. I like that.
who do you believe in?
That would
Because
go
what
direction.
good what good is having my star if my star doesn't believe in the people I put around him?
Mm, yeah, That's interesting, actually, because a lot of teams probably just say, "Play with them, whoever." Da 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 da. But I like that. It's chain of command style of like build the culture.
It's like with you and me. It's a cultural thing. Even though we're just a two-man crew on the sports network here, I ask you before I do these if you're gonna join me because I want you to feel included and I want you to feel like you're a real member of this team because you are. I can I could very easily go, oh, you know what? I'm not gonna bother him tonight, and I'm gonna do this myself. But then, how do you feel about that, right? Like that's dirty. That's dirty pool.
Mm,
You have to
yeah,
you
yeah.
have to trust your you have to trust your teammates. You have to trust your guys.
Yo, shout out Chris Boucher. Bonjour. Um, man, he hustled last night when the team was playing like crap, and I know he made mistakes too, but he was like the only dude that was dogging it last night, and he was benched the game before, so staying ready. Shout out flowers for Chris Boucher because I didn't get to that last night, and I felt bad because it was nice to see, really nice to see that.
Yeah, but like that's what there's something in the water on this Raptors team, and
Yeah,
I don't know what it is, but
yeah.
it's infecting everybody.
And that's like, dang, I thought they opened the tank and looked inside the water, tested it, saw what was wrong, made all the necessary pH balance adjustments and shit. They missed a piece. Or miscalculated a piece. And it might
I
be.
don't I don't You know what? The more I think about it, the more I think about this, the more I'm coming around to the poison wasn't the head coach. The poison's been in that locker room for more than a couple of years.
Yeah,
I'm not saying that Nick Nurse was perfect, but the more that this Raptor team struggles after the first 3 games, small sample sizes it is, because you have to remember that even in a win against Minnesota, they did not look good.
could have gone either way. It could be 0-3 just like that.
That's what I'm saying. So the more that I watch this Raptor team, and I've seen 12 quarters of basketball, the more I'm starting to think that whatever's in the water has been in the locker room the whole time.
Mm. That just gave me shivers. That gave me some goosebumps of like a grand reveal type thing because yeah, man, I think you just hit it on the head, and my body's reacting, in terms of agreeing with that because I think it's Pascal, and I love him as a human being, and I want to couch in all of that. Like this dude seems like honestly a really good human being, but when you follow the money, and this isn't his fault. It's just when the majority of your money is going to one guy who's not that dude, the rest of your team, how does that make them feel? If they can't look to you as that dude, why are they looking to you and seeing your check have an extra, maybe a whole digit,
See,
2 digits?
and that's where Kawhi is different from Pascal because as much as it just despise the way Kawhi gets treated just despises me.
Yeah,
And you talk about uh Pascal not being that dude. The reason Kawhi gets away with it is because his teammates believe he's that dude. Regardless regardless of how I feel about Kawhi, regardless about how I feel about Pascal, you put all that shit aside. Oh, excuse my language. I don't normally swear on this channel. But you
Saturday
put
night.
everything you put everything aside. At the end of the day, at least the Clippers believe that Kawhi is that dude.
And
The
honestly,
Raptors
they've
don't
got
believe,
two dudes. Like they're
huh?
like I don't know how you feel about PG, but if Kawhi's not playing that night, the whole team can still look to PG as that dude because they all still see him as the second dude. Like he's got that reputation
Yes,
solid enough.
yes. Even though I think PG's a little rickety myself personally, and not as a human being, but as a ball player, I think he's very rickety. He I think he still lives off his pacer reputation. To be honest with you,
Man, that is
Uh,
going back like yeah, I miss sort of the beginning of the Paul George era, but I think he
yeah.
does carry the respect still and does have an overrated aspect. But then sometimes you see him and it's almost like Harden and he'll do a couple things and you're like, oh yeah, okay, okay.
But that's how I feel about Zion too. I think Zion's getting into that overrated territory.
I mean, the sample size there has been so scant. It's going to be hard to really say for Zion. I think.
That's the problem though. The best ability is availability. And bringing it back to the Raptors, because there was a point to this, is they don't believe Pascal's that dude.
That's very clear, and it's been clear. I think for 3 years that nobody sees him as that dude. They begrudgingly see him as that because they have to, because they're told to.
See, and here's the thing. I I don't know how people feel. Like the channel has my name on it, so I'm the driving force. I'm that dude, but I don't make a move without my partner either. That's the thing, right? You can trust me to make a move with you, and if
Mm,
I have to, I'll make a move by myself.
yeah.
But you're included in the decisions.
Mm.
And right now, I think the Raptors are defaulting to Pascal, and he's withering under the pressure.
And it's just
By the
always
way, if you
right.
yeah, I think they're just wiltering under the pressure here.
Yeah, it's sort of like trying to fit a square into a circle. It's like I don't know why you guys are continually trying to shove two pieces that don't fit together. But Pascal being the pressure to win and be your leader, both in points and bench leader, and just that dude, you've seen
I,
all the evidence in the world to say that's not where you should put it, and they've tripled down. You know,
you know what I think? You know what? I just had an epiphany while I was sitting here listening to you talk. The Raptors got hosed by the new NBA. Wait for this one now,
okay,
because when the Warriors took over the NBA for that 5 year stretch when they won 4 titles, it was positionless basketball. And the Raptors ever since have been playing positionless basketball. They don't know what they're doing defensively. They don't know their assignments offensively because they're trying to play like the Golden State Warriors. And you know who gets beat? Everybody when you start playing like the Golden State Warriors. I'm sorry. That's just what I see. The Raptors are playing a style that doesn't suit them. They're not a positionless team. They're not skilled enough to be a positionless team. And I think we're seeing that up front here. Tell me, am I wrong? Am I off base here?
well, I think you're really on pace because we're witnessing the same thing actually in Golden State simultaneously. Golden State's still trying to play like Golden State, but they don't have the right pieces. And so they're kind of trying to play at that old pace and stuff. But the only thing that's still working for them until Draymond comes back is Steph. And there's no real plays, there's no real anything. It's just like play some ball until it's time where it's close and let the magic happen. That's not sustainable. You know, they need to
No.
play like the Warriors of old to actually sustain that. And I haven't seen
I
it yet.
think I think the Raptors win Monday night against Portland, but
Yeah,
I'm actually kind of hoping they lose.
same. And this is how I felt last year. It was like, please just lose enough so that you make a change. It's sort of like, if your life isn't working, you try all this stuff and you're going to make a tiny change, maybe sometimes just burn it all down. You know, like really, what other evidence do you really need for embarrassment or just writing on the wall to be like, okay, burn it down?
I don't know what to tell you. I don't know. I'm not the guy that I will rephrase. I believe I'm the guy that could fix it,
Mm,
but MLSE Masai's not calling me.
yet. Yeah. Who knows, man? There's so many reasons why outside perspectives can sometimes be the most valuable because you're not entrenched in their thinking. You literally are coming from an untouched, unbiased from their organization. And sometimes that's what, products and advertisement things need. That sometimes that's what a team needs, or music, or this and that. But like, to bring somebody that's a complete outsider from your organization, that still knows your organization in depth, could provide you a perspective that could be really valuable. And if there's any value in some of this chat, it's billable hours there, Raptors. You can find our information and
And I feel bad for Raptor fans because I'm a Raptor fan too, but my investment is in LA.
mm,
Like I root for the Raptors every night, other than when they play the Lakers.
mm,
But I really feel bad for them fans in Toronto that do show up to the ACC every night
yeah.
because they deserve better. I think that's gonna be my theme for the year. Is the fans in Toronto deserve better.
And it's got a bad taste. I think it's like it's one of those things. It's like you tried all the ways to make your old version of what was really great at the time, but it's over. And it's like the 2019 thing is over. The era of trying to make this positionless, Pascal-led team has not been successful. No signs of it being uber successful. So clinging to this old idea, I think, is just like the longer you cling, the worse it gets. And fans don't deserve that when you can't just make a decision and you're.
You know, far be it from me to bring in a hockey quote to a basketball podcast, but I think this applies. Brian Burke, when he was the GM of the Toronto Maple Leafs, said this once. He said, either you're going up or you're coming down. He said, because being in the middle of the pack is death because you're not good enough to go anywhere and you're not bad enough to get that
Purgatory.
franchise altering player. So, up or down, pick a lane and stick with it. Because if you stay in the middle, you're just going to be there forever.
And
And
just
I
checking
think that,
the time, it looks like the Raptors have been there forever.
yes, there you go. That's my point. And and the Canucks have just tied the game, by the way, as they play the Rangers. And just a quick update: the Suns have now taken complete control of this game. They're up 18 points as
Yeah,
we bring you the Raptor rundown.
Utah's
Um,
a back-to-back as well.
huh?
Utah's on the back of a back-to-back as well, playing last night against the Clippers. Uh, really quick, I was going to mention on the Raptors adjacent in that Pascal Cameroonian, Joel Embiid, who we played tonight, Cameroonian. It was the big fight of Tyson Fury versus Francis Ngannou earlier today. I won't. Well, I guess I can ruin it. It was a brilliant fight and went full 10, which was a miracle that nobody thought would happen. But to see Cameroon show up like that, man, that's how you show up. That's how you represent your country, man. Like he came and did things that nobody thought would be possible. Like, you want to talk about that dude? Both of those guys were that dude today, and I just was going to try to connect the Cameroonian vibe of how cool it is seeing three athletes from an area that deals with so much, all being on TV tonight as these legendary athletes and stuff. And I hope some rubs off on Pascal a little bit. He's got elite company there, elite brethren, some inspiring stuff that these guys are doing. I'm not a huge Embiid fan, but Ngannou, man, that was inspiring stuff tonight. So I'm trying to put out those vibes for Pascal a little bit.
You heard my take on the Raptors last night,
Mm.
which I turned into a short, by the way, on the channel. That's got
Oh,
90 views already.
see, that's what we're saying, right? Get some of these shorts going because people like just fast, 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 right?
But I want to get your take now that they're 1-2. What what is
Do you want me
provide
to?
the Raptors fans with some hope is basically what I'm telling you.
There's one dude, at least one dude on that team that really, really, really cares, and his name's Scotty Barnes. And we're not dead in the water for the next 10 years as long as he loves and feels like he's being appreciated in Toronto. So let's just keep sending our love to Scotty Barnes because he is the future of whatever this cluster ends up being. What this interim period is going to be is essentially going into trench warfare. It's not going to be good. It's going to be painful, slow, dirty, and very uncomfortable to be a part of as a fan and to watch as a fan. So prepping yourself for that is actually a good thing because it sets your expectations where they need to be, and you can then just focus on sending your love to Scotty and the Bouchers and the Jack Armstrongs out there. Matty D, shout out. Alvin too. But
Yeah, they do a lot of great work over there, them boys. And
bonjour.
maybe we'll have them on the At the Buzzer one day podcast. One can dream.
Oh yeah, man! What an honor it would be to have somebody like that. And why not? I can
But
see.
and then we'd have to get the you're watching the At the Buzzer clip, from Big Jack and Matty D to help us pump up the podcast. But
That would be a mission accomplished, man. That would be great. So for Raptors fans, our broadcasters are great. our our theme song's really good. We got we got
you
to do
know,
too.
and with that, I want to leave the Raptors fans with something positive because I've been really negative this season on the Raptors,
Yeah, give us
and a lot of it's justified. But the Raptors, the one positive I can say for this team is at least they're competitive right now. They're competing every night, and I can accept that. Now, can they compete in game 25 if they're 11 and 14, 11 if it goes sideways, if it gets to 11 and 17, are the Raptors going to I don't have that answer. But
they're resilient. Got to
at
give
least
that.
early in the season, huh?
They are resilient. You got to give that to them, right?
Yeah, I just wanted to give the Raptor fans something positive
Yeah.
because there are good qualities of this team. And if there wasn't, I wouldn't want to do these Raptor rundowns.
Mm-hmm. Because it's going to be super interesting, honestly, to see which way this goes. It's been waiting, 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 waiting. We're coming upon Judgment Day of some kind. There will be a decision one way or another, and that's going to be super exciting to see and see how they respond. Right?
All right, well, that's gonna do it for this edition of the Raptor Rundown. I'm Mo Money for my co-host G, who helps me out with these. That is much appreciated, by the way.
Oh, it's an honor.
We love bringing these to you. Until next time, may your ego come from a place that keeps you humble. Don't forget to like and subscribe to follow us for more. And G, any last thoughts?
You know, they say everything's bigger in Texas. They haven't seen the CN Tower. Let's go, Toronto. Let's show them how it's done.
There you go. Let's get it done. All right. Take care, everybody. Good night. And we'll see you on Monday night for the Raptor Rundown, Game 4 against the Portland Trail Blazers.